You know that feeling, right? That sometimes overwhelming wave of information.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe just being really curious about what actually goes on in a therapist's office, like behind the scenes.
Yeah, beyond the sort of classic image, the couch and how does that make you feel?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, today, that's precisely what we're diving into.
We're looking at Joshua Fletcher's book, and how does that make you feel? It's quite insightful.
It really is. And our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. We want to pull out the really key takeaways about what makes therapy effective.
We'll be looking at, where anxiety comes from, some surprising stuff there.
And how our past shapes us, those experiences, and even get a peek into that internal world of the therapist.
The idea is to help you feel more informed, maybe spark some self-reflection along the way.
Okay, so let's jump right in. One thing from Fletcher's work that really struck me was, what does a therapist actually do?
Right, because popular culture often paints a weird picture.
Totally. It's not about mind reading, definitely not playing detective with your life.
Or like the go-to of blaming your parents for absolutely everything.
No, exactly. The book clarifies the foundation is, well, it sounds simple, but it's incredibly hard. Just listening, truly listening.
And providing that unconditionally safe space.
Yeah. Which brings us to something fascinating in the book, the therapist's internal world.
Oh, this is where Fletcher is incredibly candid.
Yeah.
He actually lets us in on the constant kind of buzzing internal monologue.
The internal team, he calls it.
Exactly. These different voices inside the therapist's head. You've got the analytical voice sort of processing everything.
Yeah.
Intuition, picking up on unspoken things. Volition, that's about making conscious choices in the session. Compassion and empathy, of course, feeling with the client. Then there's the critic. We all have that voice. Sometimes it's helpful, sometimes not.
Sure.
The detective, looking for patterns, even irreverence. Sometimes you need a bit of that.
Okay.
The savior complex, that urge to fix everything, trigger when the client's story resonates personally. Biology, noticing physical signs, and even like the escapist voice wanting to avoid difficult stuff.
Wow. That's a lot. It sounds like a full-on internal committee meeting happening constantly.
It really is.
So how on earth does a therapist stay present and objective, anchored in your experience, when all that's going on inside their own head?
That is the core skill, isn't it? And this leads directly to this key concept Fletcher talks about, the frame of reference.
Frame of reference.
Yeah. He explains that we all see the world through our own unique, picture frame. It's shaped by our life, our beliefs, everything.
Okay, our personal filter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a massive part of therapist training is learning to consciously step outside their own frame.
To see through the client's eyes.
Or at least try to. It's about recognizing their own biases, their own stuff, so they can understand your world without projecting their own onto it.
That makes sense. It's about achieving that understanding, that connection.
And it's a skill, that if you can practice it in your own life, trying to genuinely see someone else's perspective without judgment, that's huge for emotional growth.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, shifting gears slightly, but still connected to deep experiences. Anxiety. It's such a common reason people seek therapy. Fletcher really digs into that fundamental question. Where does it actually come from?
Yeah, he breaks it down to its roots. It's our body's ancient threat response system. Fight, flight, or freeze.
Designed for imminent danger.
Exactly. And that sense of threat is very personal, very subjective. What feels threatening to one person might not to another.
And the evolutionary perspective is really compelling here.
Totally. This system was essential for our ancestors. Think of meerkats scanning for predators. Our brain's smoke detector, the amygdala, was doing that constantly.
Always on alert.
That same basic hardware is in our brains now. But the lions aren't usually physical predators anymore.
They're worries about work or self-esteem.
Social rejection, pressure, feeling like you're not enough. The threat feels just as real to the brain, even if it's psychological.
Though the body reacts in the same way. That's incredible.
It is. And beyond the obvious fight or flight, Fletcher points out other ways this response shows up.
Like the freeze response.
Yeah, and it's not always dramatic, like freezing on the spot. It can be subtle, like having an internal panic attack no one sees, or feeling completely speechless, or even dissociating, kind of checking out mentally when things get too much.
Okay, that makes sense. And the other one?
The fawn response.
Yeah.
This is where our threat system kind of pushes us towards people-pleasing.
To avoid conflict.
Exactly. To avoid conflict, rejection, basically trying to appease a perceived threat. It's a safety behavior. And Fletcher connects this often to what he calls introjected beliefs.
Yes, introjections. Let's talk about those.
These are ideas or coping mechanisms we often pick up in childhood, maybe from parents, teachers, difficult relationships. We absorb them.
Okay, so social anxiety often links into this, right? That feeling of being hyper-aware of yourself.
Absolutely. Fletcher describes it as seeing yourself through this really critical lens, constantly worried about judgment or rejection.
And the anxiety isn't just during the social event.
Oh no, that's the key. It's the weeks of nervous anticipation beforehand, playing out scenarios,
Ruminating.
and then hours, sometimes days afterwards, replaying things, picking apart every little perceived mistake. It's that internal critic just going wild, fueled by the threat response.
So let's dig deeper into those introjected beliefs. You said they're absorbed ideas. Why are they so important for our mental health?
They're incredibly powerful. Basically, introjections are beliefs, values, even ways of behaving that we soak up from life, especially when we're young and less critical.
Before we can really analyze them.
Exactly. They become part of our own system without us ever consciously choosing them. Fletcher gives some great examples. Like maybe a kid at a funeral is told, "Don't cry, be strong." They might interject the idea that hiding emotions is strength, even though expressing emotion is healthy.
Wow.
Or someone who only gets praise for perfect grades, A's, but gets criticized for B's. They might interject that their self-worth is completely tied to perfection.
Leading to huge self-criticism later on.
Definitely. Or absorbing messages that your value depends on how you look, or feeling you have to suppress your gender identity or sexuality because of social prejudice you've observed or experienced.
Even something like parental abandonment.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That can lead to a deeply ingrained interjection of being not good enough. The thing is, many interjections are helpful. Look both ways before crossing the road is a useful interjection.
Sure, basic safety.
But therapists are often looking for the unhelpful ones, the ones driving anxiety, depression, self-sabotage.
So the goal is to make them conscious.
Precisely. Like Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Therapy helps you examine these beliefs, challenge the unhelpful ones, and build new beliefs based on your actual adult reality and values.
Which requires that therapist being able to see your interjections, not just their own.
Exactly. Stepping out of their own frame is crucial there.
Okay, so if someone decides to seek therapy, they then face this huge, kind of confusing world of different approaches. Fletcher calls it incredibly confusing for the general public.
He does, and it can be. There are so many different modality colors, as he puts it.
Can you give us a quick rundown of some main ones?
Sure. You've got CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. That focuses a lot on changing unhelpful thinking patterns and behaviors, often good for quick symptom relief.
Okay.
Then person-centered, or PC therapy. That's all about empathy, the therapist being genuine, and unconditional positive regard, really believing in the client's potential to grow.
More relationship focused.
Very much so. Psychodynamic therapy delves more into the unconscious past experiences, how they influence you now.
Exploring the deeper roots.
Right. And there are others. Transactional analysis, metacognitive therapy, various trauma-informed approaches focusing specifically on trauma's impact.
Fletcher has that funny analogy about it.
Yes. The Younger Games. He jokes about how some therapists can be real purists about their modality, almost tribal, each thinking theirs is the ultimate approach.
So with all that variety, how does someone actually find the right therapy? It sounds like a bit of a lottery.
It can feel that way. Fletcher himself is an integrative therapist, which means he combines different approaches depending on what the client needs.
Tailoring it.
Exactly. And this is so important, the match. It's about the fit between you, the client, the therapist as a person, and the approach they use.
So if therapy didn't work for someone,
It's almost never the client's fault. Much more likely, it was just a mismatch. A good therapist knows their limits and recognizes when maybe a different approach or even a different therapist would be better for that specific person.
that's really reassuring to hear. Now, one specific method the book highlights for anxiety is exposure therapy.
Yes, a very powerful tool.
How does that work? It sounds kind of intense.
It can be, but it's incredibly effective. Exposure therapy, especially ERP, exposure and response prevention for OCD, involves intentionally facing your anxious triggers.
Okay.
But, and this is the crucial part, you do it without resorting to your usual safety behaviors or compulsions.
Why is that important?
Because that's how you retrain your brain, specifically the amygdala, that smoke detector. You expose it to the trigger, it fires up, but because you don't do the safety behavior, it doesn't get the confirmation of danger it expects. Over time, it learns the trigger isn't actually dangerous.
You're essentially rewiring the alarm system.
Precisely. You have to lean into the discomfort for the rewiring to happen.
The book has some powerful stories illustrating this. Tony, for instance.
Yeah, Tony struggled with being alone. Through therapy, he realized it wasn't being alone he feared, but the sadness he felt when alone. His exposure homework was literally just practicing being alone, gradually changing that negative association.
And Zara with her driving anxiety.
A great example. Severe driving anxiety. Through gradual exposure, facing harder and harder driving situations, she made amazing progress. There was even a road rage incident.
Oh, wow.
Instead of panicking like she might have before, she felt this agency. She calmly took the other driver's keys to de-escalate the situation. A huge shift from feeling like a victim of her anxiety to feeling empowered.
That's incredible. And Levi's story with OCD and intrusive thoughts.
Levi's case really shows the power of ERP. He had disturbing intrusive thoughts, violent and sexual, common in OCD. His community, even his wife, sadly told him it was a demon and he needed penance.
Leading to self-harm.
Yes, self-flagellation. ERP helped him learn to tolerate the intense discomfort of the thoughts without doing the compulsions. A really moving moment was when he faced a specific fear by changing his granddaughter's nappy.
A seemingly simple act, but huge for him.
Absolutely. It was a profound exposure, helping him see his thoughts didn't define him or control his actions. Real bravery.
These stories really highlight the courage involved, which brings us to vulnerability. Fletcher talks about emotional conservatism.
That spectrum of how openly people express or don't express emotion.
Why is it so hard for some people to be vulnerable, even in therapy where they know it might help? You might feel this yourself, right? That holding back.
It often comes back to anxiety itself. A fear of feeling those negative emotions, maybe feeling awkward or helpless or worrying about burdening someone else.
The classic, I don't want to make a fuss.
Exactly. But the therapist's job is to create that space where those fears can actually be met with acceptance. They're trained to manage their own reactions and focus entirely on your feelings.
Which is a key difference from friendship, right? The therapeutic relationship isn't a friendship.
Absolutely not. It's unique. The foundation is unconditional positive regard. Listening without judgment, empathy, caring for the person regardless of their views.
But it's one-sided.
Critically so. The therapist is there only to help you. You have no obligation to help or validate them. They consciously shelve their own feelings to stay focused on your experience. That's what makes the space safe and effective, but it requires strict boundaries.
And those boundaries, along with ethics, can lead to some really tough situations for therapists. The book doesn't shy away from that.
No, it really shows the weight of responsibility. Take Levi's situation again. Beyond his OCD, he revealed serious coercive abuse happening within his marriage and community.
A huge ethical dilemma for the therapist.
Massive. Report it immediately.
Yeah.
Or hold back to maintain trust, hoping Levi would feel empowered to act himself. The therapist chose the latter, a very nuanced decision prioritizing Levi's autonomy.
And Levi eventually chose to leave therapy.
He did, deciding to face it on his own terms. A difficult outcome, maybe, but it respected his agency.
Then there's Noah's story. Very different.
Very. Noah confessed to sexually assaulting someone. Here, the ethical line was clear. The duty to protect potential victims overrode confidentiality.
The therapist had to report it.
Yes. A heartbreaking decision, breaking that therapeutic bond, despite feeling compassion for Noah. It shows how professional duty has to come first in those cases.
The complexities aren't just legal either. Daphne, the celebrity client.
Right. Her therapist had to manage his own feelings, being a bit starstruck, and maintain strict professional boundaries. Declining invites to her show, handling gifts carefully. He had to focus on Daphne the person, not the celebrity.
It's essential for genuine therapy.
And then Zara's story takes another turn. Her therapist actually developed personal feelings for her.
Oh, wow. What happened?
He recognized this compromised his ability to be objective and provide that unconditional positive regard. So he made the incredibly difficult but correct ethical decision to terminate therapy and refer her elsewhere.
It really underscores that therapists are human.
Exactly. They have feelings, limitations, and a rigorous ethical code they have to constantly navigate to protect the client's well-being above all else.
So, therapy endings. They aren't always neat and tidy, are they?
Definitely not. They can be positive, planned endings, but Fletcher is honest. They can also be sudden, confusing, even painful, leaving the therapist with a sense of grief sometimes. Each client makes an impact.
We've covered a lot of ground here navigating this complex, sometimes messy, but yeah, ultimately beautiful world of therapy. We've looked at those internal therapist voices, how past experiences and those interjections shape us.
And how things like courage, exposure therapy, and finding that right therapeutic match can really foster growth.
The bravery of clients like Tony, Zara, Levi, it's genuinely inspiring.
It truly is. And this whole exploration really reminds us that, vulnerability isn't weakness. That search for understanding ourselves and others, it's a lifelong thing. And the unique value of therapy is that focused, confidential space. It's dedicated just to your needs. A mirror, maybe a guide.
A space to challenge those old patterns, maybe? We've seen the courage it takes for clients and the dedication from therapists to meet them there, stepping outside their own frame.
Yeah, that commitment to understanding is key.
So as you reflect on all this, here's something to think about. What are the voices in your own head telling you?
Are they helpful guides, those useful interjections? Or are they maybe old, unexamined beliefs that might be holding you back?
And perhaps consider how might intentionally trying to step into someone else's frame of reference change how you see the world, or even how you see yourself.